Let me see. OBS is showing that. Okay, we're streaming again. Let me take a quick look at my thing on Twitch here. Ooh, somebody said something to me on Twitch, maybe. What is this? Achievement completed. New day, new stream. What does that mean? What does it even mean? Anyway, so here we are. Let's look. Yeah, so it shows I'm live. Let me open my stream manager. Okay, so my stream manager is there. Wish I could just keep the stream chat popped up. Is that even possible to do? Docs, chat. This is the stream chat, is it? Hello? Stream chat. Hey, it totally works. All right. So, can I get that to like stay on top? No. No, never mind. I don't even care anymore. What am I doing? What was I doing? Docs, stream information. I need to fix this because for some reason it came up as category just chatting, and we want that to be music. Update information. Why did it change it back to just chatting? Music. Music producer? Update information. Okay, well then it just, okay. Now it says music. Ugh, whatever. All right. Well, now that's done. Oh, you know what? I should say that this is part 2. This is so professional, huh? Part 2. I don't need that hyphen in there. Just part 2. Update information. I'm going to trust that the information has been updated. Okay, anyway, where were we? So, this is my song, Saboteur. This is a new song that I'm working on for my upcoming album. And we were just in the middle of messing with compressing the bass. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick a random place here and get back into it. All right, so I am going to copy my compressor. So I got 2 of them. So I want to basically leave all the settings the same except for the input. I am going to change, of course. All right, so let's see what happens when it gets to the loudness. Yeah, we're getting a good snap out of it now. Yeah, ooh. Yeah, using multiple instances of a compressor on a bass is awesome. It's a job well done. Job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying
but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur. But maybe with me all the while, it's truth that lays behind my smile.
Okay, this is a very important part, so we need to...
Maybe with me all the while, it's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
All right, so that sounds pretty good. But the thing is everything except the drums right now is in mono. So, I really, really want that electric guitar to be prominent. So we're actually going to, we've got this second instance of the guitar right here. It's just a complete carbon copy of the original one, this one called Strat Stereo. So this is the one that we're going to move around left to right to find a spot where it pops out really well. And then we're going to leave the main Strat mono, the one as it is. We're just going to leave that straight down the middle. So let's go ahead and actually copy and paste all of our plugins from this track, because we want it to be pretty much identical. Let's see, we've got negative 5.71 dB. So negative 5. I can actually negative 5.71. I'll just type it in there. Okay, so let me unmute that. Okay, so let's mute it one more time, because I turned this one up, this instance of it. Let's make sure it's still balanced properly.
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again, and maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. And maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name.
All right, cool. So I'm going to jump ahead to the little, to the bridge here. And that's where I really want to make sure that we have got enough, that we've got this Strat Stereo track unglued from the middle just enough that it stands out just a little bit more. So let's unmute it now. And we don't want to just double down the middle, because that's just going to make it louder, and that's not what we want.
But maybe with me all the while.
Let me mute this other one first, and actually we'll leave this one at the same volume as the original, and we'll stereo pan that one first to figure out where it cuts through on its own without the support of having the mono copy.
my smile. But now I see you crying.
Let's try it again.
Baby, with me. But maybe with me all the while. It's truth that lays behind my smile.
I think it sounds better around 70% to the right. So now let's go ahead and reintroduce the original mono copy.
Saboteur.
And I'll probably have to turn both of these down to keep the balance.
Cause the pain. But maybe with me all the while. But maybe with me all the while. But maybe with me all the while. Truth that but maybe with me all the while. It's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying. Because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Saboteur.
Let's jump back here.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, Saboteur. Saboteur. It's a job well done.
No, I'm not.
A job complete.
I'm going to.
Glorious defeat. And as he creeps,
Much better.
he never sleeps.
So now I can switch between listening to the whole stereo, spectrum, or I can turn this to monitor it just in mono instantaneously.
Because I don't want to remain a saboteur. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. And maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, Saboteur. Saboteur.
It does sound a lot better in stereo. The magic of stereo.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat.
I can turn both of these guitars down probably another 2 decibels, so call that 8 and just go to negative 10 decibels on that. I will call that negative 9.5 decibels.
Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur.
In all likelihood, hey, only when it's playing? What the heck is okay. I don't know, my mic just stopped working for some reason. Okay. Anyway, I was saying, in all likelihood, I will probably end up re-recording these guitars. It's highly probable I will re-record the bass. I'm really hard on myself when it comes to, especially my bass and my guitar tracks. I nitpick them a lot, so overall tone is good. There's just a couple of spots I'm not happy with my performance, but anyway, this is extremely useful. It's like, even if you're what am I trying to say? Even if you're not super happy with what you've recorded, it can still be extremely useful to sit and do a mixing session with it and see kind of where you can push it to. See what comes out of it. Because once I get a tone that I like, I can keep all of these plugins in here. I can keep all of the levels set exactly where they are. And I can just delete what I recorded and re-record. And everything will be set up the way that I was hearing it, the way that I liked it. Even with a take that ultimately was not going to make the final cut. So, you don't always have to have all of your takes perfect before you get into the mixing phase. I've actually found that fuels my creativity sometimes. Especially if I've been working on a part forever and I just can't get it quite right, and I just want to start hearing everything together. I'll sit and I'll have a mixing session with all of this stuff, and sometimes I can fire me up, and sometimes, it'll make me listen to a track that I didn't like the performance on, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? That's actually awesome. It sounds really good in the context with everything else, and, I made something great. In this particular case, especially with the guitar part, I'm not feeling that way about it, so I like the way it sounds. The energy is there. But there are a couple little flubs in there that I'm not super happy about, and they're becoming more prominent as I am, mixing things a little bit louder and trying to make sure that we are hearing every little jangle of every instrument. That makes everything stand out. So anyway, back to mixing.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. And maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. But maybe with me all the while, it's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. But baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
All right, Let's listen to this this part in mono.
Baby, with me all the while. It's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't
Back
want
to stereo.
remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Okay. Yeah, man, this is really sounding good. Okay, so we've got the dynamics controlled pretty well on everything but the drums and the vocals. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to use a very special compressor on the drums. This particular compressor that we're going to use, this emulates a Fairchild 660, which is one of the absolute most iconic compressors of all time. This is when the Beatles went in to record like some of the first tracks for the Revolver album, which were for totally losing my train of thought here. For what is wrong with me? Why can't I remember the name of the song? Dude, this is embarrassing. I am like a literal Beatles scholar, and I cannot remember the name of this song. It's the last song on Revolver. Relax your mind. Close your mind, relax, and float downstream. I'm looking it up on my phone right now. Tomorrow Never Knows. Yes. My God. Yeah. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. So the Fairchild 660 is what Jeff Emmerich, their engineer at the time, that's what he used to squash Ringo's drums on that song. And when they went into the control booth to listen to the playback, Ringo just looked at Jeff and said, "Oh my God, what did you do to my drums? They sound huge." Well, he squished them with a Fairchild 660. It's got a very, very particular sound to it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a similar type of squash to these drums. It's very easy to do. Okay, so we're going to definitely for sure want to do this over the loudest part of these drums. So we're going to start bringing the AC threshold down so we get about 5 dB of squish to start with. Yeah, you can already hear it doing the magic thing. Yeah, we're going to have to really squash it, so I'm going to have to turn the input up a bit. Okay, so we're getting at max about 4 dB. So I'm going to start turning the input up to try and get us to about 5. Wow, I'm really having to push this. Yeah, just listen to how tight that's getting, especially the thwack on the snare. All right, so I'm going to disable this really quick and volume match. Okay, this is with the Fairchild off. On. Yeah. And if we really wanted to get insane with it, we can up the DC threshold to make it more of a limiter than a compressor. Yeah, and then just listen to that, the thwack of that snare. Yeah, it makes the kick huge too. Okay, so I'm actually just gonna leave it. I don't need it to be that extreme, so I'm just gonna leave it like all the way over on the compression side. Okay, let's listen to this back in context now.
He pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying, but it's me that
Yeah. Oh, do you hear the difference? Do you hear the difference in... Okay, let me just roll it back to here. I'm going to turn this off and listen to this tom fill as we go into the chorus.
he pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying, but it's me that calls.
Okay, so the volume is it's really the same. I'm going to turn the compressor back on, and even though it's going to sound louder, the volume is the same. The dynamic range is just less. So it makes it more prominent and sound way bigger. Okay, so I was going to do like a straight A-B, but I've wasted too much time talking. So let's do it again. We'll just do like a straight A-B. So this is going to be A with the compressor off, and then I'll play like the same 10 seconds with the compressor on.
Down into the deep.
Just listen to the drums.
Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain.
And B.
Down into the deep. Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm really
rock and
trying,
roll.
because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Yeah. So clear.
But baby, with me all the while. It's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. But baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Yeah. Oh man, that sounds good. Okay. One of the last, well, actually, the last piece that we need to control the dynamics on are the vocals, and we're actually going to use the Fairchild 660 for that again. I keep saying Fairchild 660. This is not an actual. It's not an actual Fairchild 660, of course. This is The Very Moon by Analog Obsessions. And it is another one of his free plugins. And it is based on the Fairchild 660. It's quite close, the way that it sounds. It has a couple of functions well, I guess I should say it has one function that the actual Fairchild 660 did not. You saw me kind of using it and talking about it on the drums. That's this DC threshold. And that is it's kind of like a compression ratio, kind of like a compression ratio knob, but not really, because this is a variable mu compressor. So it actually already increases the ratio natively as the signal fed to it gets bigger. So the bigger the signal, the higher the compression ratio. What the DC threshold does, it kind of, to me, it sounds like it biases that. So it just kind of, it feels to me like what it does is when it's all the way off over to the left, it says, well, just go ahead and do your variable mu thing and compress it as much as you think it needs to be compressed. You know, it's like we're trusting the compressor to do that, and that's pretty much how the actual Fairchild 660 worked. But this, the Verymoon VST that I'm using here, you can actually turn this DC threshold all the way up, and it becomes more like a limiter. So it uses a really high compression ratio all the time. So, like I said, it's kind of like a bias knob. Biasing it more towards always using a higher ratio right from the get-go, as opposed to just having kind of a more natural thing, a more natural, a more natural throb to it. So for the vocals, I'm just going to leave this just in like straight compression mode as well. I am going to adjust this knob to like the second position to start with. We might go to the third position, but what that does is that changes the release time, and that was definitely a feature of the 660. Is instead of like a dedicated attack and release knob, it has like an automatic attack. So it's always going to, the attack is always going to be the same, but you've got this knob that allows you several different settings to increase the release time, and then it's got a couple of automatic settings as well. So for vocals, it seems to work best on like setting 2 or 3. So we'll put it on 2. We'll try it on 3. But my guess is with my voice, because I mix my voice a lot. I know that it generally sounds better on the second setting. So anyway, let's go ahead and start compressing the vocal.
The Saboteur.
All right, so I'm going to bring the input down, and then the AC threshold is what I'm going to start with first.
Well, maybe I'm broken.
And I just want that needle to start jumping a little bit.
Insane. But all that makes sense is the pain.
Over here where it's nice and quiet. So let's start that again.
Well, maybe I'm broken. Or maybe I'm insane.
Okay, so I've got it turned all the way up.
All that makes sense is the pain.
I'm only looking for about 1 dB of gain
Maybe
reduction
I'm aware
on this quiet part.
of who's to blame.
This seems pretty
The
good.
Saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, a Saboteur. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, a Saboteur.
Yeah, it's not really making a big difference on this vocal, so we're just going to leave it on 2. I don't see any reason to turn it up to 3 right now. Okay, so let's put it back in context.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur.
All right, so there, that's pretty much perfect. I don't know if I'm going to squeeze it again or not. I think that sounds really good. So if you can see what I did there was, after I got the compressor set to kind of where I thought it needed to be, I wanted the quiet part of the vocal to be louder. So notice I didn't turn up the vocal. I turned down the backing track. And then I turned up for my own listening. I know you on your end probably can't hear the volume difference, but I turned the volume up for me so that I could have the vocal where I need it to be for my own listening. So I made the vocal louder by turning down the music. And then you could really hear the compressor go to work, in these phrases where I start singing louder. When you're compressing vocals, kind of the key is at any given point, you want to be able to hear every single word that's being sung. You want it to be very clear. You don't necessarily want it to be, a lot louder than the music. You just want it to be, audible so that when you're listening to it and you hear that word, it's like, what that word is. It's clear. It's easy to hear it, but it doesn't need to be, way louder than the rest of the music. Now, to get the soft part of the vocal to that point, that makes the parts where I'm singing louder, it makes them painfully loud compared to the music. So that's what the compressor is doing for us, is it's allowing me to get the soft part of the vocal set to where I want it to be so that everything's coming through nice and clear. But then, when I really start belting, the compressor kicks in and quiets that down. So it brings it, closer to the level of the soft part during the loud part. So let's actually listen to and watch that happen again. So I'll do this with the compressor on.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying.
Okay, you get the picture. So now let's turn the compressor off and listen to that same part again. So we're going to turn the compressor off. I'm not touching anything other than I'm just turning the compressor off. The soft part of the verse is going to basically be the same volume that it was, but listen to what happens when we get to, the loud part when the chorus starts.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a Blessing and glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying.
See, that's way too loud.
Cause the pain. Maybe I'm really trying.
I turn the compressor back on. Now it's reasonable. Now it fits.
Saboteur.
Okay, I've got way too much reverb on that guitar now that I've got them doubled. I'm gonna turn both of those down to -6.
But maybe with me all the while. This truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Yeah, that's nice. Sounds really good. Okay, so I'm happy with basically everything. So I want the drums to be just a little bit louder, and I can tell looking at the meter over here. I got tons of headroom still, so I'm actually going to use the output on the compressor to turn the volume of the drums up just a little bit. Let's just see how it sounds.
And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur. But maybe with me all the while. This truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. The saboteur.
That bass needs to be louder.
Rise again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the saboteur. The saboteur.
Okay, I'm very happy with how this sounds. And we haven't even EQ'd anything yet. We haven't even talked about frequency EQ. We're not going to need a lot of it on this song. You know, just getting everything balanced and getting our dynamics controlled. Getting a little bit of atmosphere on it with the reverb. That's got us, 75% or more of the way there. It sounds really good. I'm extremely pleased with this. So, let's see. I don't know how much I'm going to get into EQing tonight. It is getting kind of late. Okay, we're going to throw a little EQ on the master bus, and we'll start working from there. You generally want to work your way down from the top. So when you start working with EQ, you want to put it on the master bus first. And, well, I'm saying this like this is some kind of hard and fast rule. This is how I do it. This is what makes sense to me. I feel like once you're done with all of this minutia that we just did, that when you start working with EQ, which can get out of control really quickly, I've made horrible cacophonies by using way too much EQ when it's not required. So best practice, I think, is to start high and then work down low. Put an EQ on the master bus, start working out what you think your problem frequencies might be, enhance the things that you want to enhance at the master level. And then if you still feel like you're having some problems with individual tracks that you're not able to EQ out at the master level, well, then maybe let's, talk about throwing EQs on the individual tracks. But so let's start right here. I know that there are two things that I'm going to use for EQ on my master bus. Which is going to be just the real dirt simple 2-band EQ that is on the Red 51. I don't know if I don't think I talked about this, but I throw the stereo version on the master bus for obvious reasons, and this is what ends up being like my main output control. So I'm going to first mess with the high and low. I'm gonna use it on the pop setting, which is of course what the Beatles used. Any of the pop groups that recorded at Abbey Road back in the '60s that got to record on the Red consoles, they virtually all used the pop setting. There was also the classic setting, and that was actually a module that could be pulled out of the recording desk, and it actually looked like this. This is the top of the module. So you got one that says pop on top, and one that says classic on top. They both have different EQ characters. Pop is definitely if you try mixing music like this on the classic setting, you see why the pop setting is more useful. It's biased more for like AM frequency bands. Like you get more of a boost around 5,000 hertz, and the one on classic is more like up at 10,000 hertz or something like that, and it's like the 5,000 hertz boost on the pop setting is really creamy and smooth. It sounds really good, and if we want to mess with other frequencies up higher, well, that's what the next plugin that I'm going to show you is going to do. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mess with the high and low tone on this, see how much, if any, EQ just from the Red console we need. So let's fire it back up and listen.
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain.
Nah.
Maybe I'm aware Saboteur rides again.
Nah, it already seems like it's really bright. So I'm just gonna maybe give it maybe 2 dB boost on the high tone knob. Now let's in the loud section here, let's tweak around the low end and see what happens.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur.
Yeah, we can really get the bass cooking when we also put the bass lift in here. I mean, it just is like... it just rattles the place.
It's a job well done.
That's way too much. That's
a job complete.
Insane.
Lesson in glorious defeat. Sleeps.
Okay.
He pulls me down into the deep. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur.
Be a little more high. Just for a little bit of shine. I mean, really, it's so good the way it is. It really does sound good. So that's another thing. Anytime, especially when you start messing around with EQ, when you start turning your EQ up, it's adding more volume to certain frequencies. It's going to make those frequencies louder. So a common mistake that happens is when you turn those things, is when you start boosting frequencies and it gets louder, your brain is like, yeah, that's exciting. It's louder. It must be better. You know, it's that's the way that our brains are designed to work, is that, you know, louder equals better. It's really easy to get trapped by that. So when you start messing with EQ, you want to really make sure that you are balancing your output volume from whatever plugin you're using to control your EQ. You want to make sure that you're A/Bing it a lot to make sure that the volume is not changing. The only thing that you want to be changing is whatever boost or cuts you're making at those frequencies. You're not actually going to be able to hear what it's actually doing unless you balance the volume. So let me show you, because where I had the volume up here. Okay, so let's play it again. I'm going to have it off, okay? So I'm turning off, you know, I'm turning the plugin off. God, I cannot talk tonight. Okay, anyway, and then we're going to play through the loud part of the song. And then we're going to do it again, and I'm going to turn this on. And yeah, I've made subtle adjustments to the high and low tone knobs. But just watch what happens.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur.
Okay, I'm going to do it again, but now I'm going to turn it on.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly
See how much better it sounds?
Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name.
Turning it off, I'm going to turn it back on.
Saboteur.
So the main difference that we're hearing is it's getting louder. And when it gets louder, it sounds better. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and actually balance the volume.
Well, maybe I'm broken.
So we want to turn
Maybe I'm insane.
it down a few decibels.
But all that makes sense is the pain.
Okay, now we've got the volume balanced.
Maybe I'm
And when I A/B it, I dare you to hear a difference.
The Saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur.
So you can hear that it loses just a touch of muddiness. And even though I've added just, like a decibel and a half of low, the fact that I boosted, 5K, it clears it up just a little bit. It adds a little bit of clarity, but it's not as dynamic of a difference as it was before I turned the volume down. Because I turned the high and the low up a few decibels, and that turned the volume up. I boosted the volume at those frequencies. There's no way that cannot affect the output volume. So that's why after you've made your tweak and you think it sounds good, double check, make sure that you're balancing the output volume, to make sure that you're hearing what you think you're hearing. So anyway, that was very subtle. We could definitely push either one of those more to make a more dramatic difference if we wanted to, but we really don't need to. I think just a little clarity enhancement is great. So one thing that we definitely need to do is high and low pass this. So what I like to use for this particular task is the VEQ4 stereo. This is by Waves. This is an emulation of like a Neve console, like a Neve EQ. And it's got a very classic late 60s, early 70s British sort of sound to it. And I really like it. It's my go-to EQ for basically everything. Like if we do EQ any of the individual tracks, I'm definitely going to throw either the VEQ4 mono on one of those tracks or the VEQ3 mono on one of those tracks, depending on how flexible we need it to be. I like to put this one on the master bus because it's got a lot more control to it. And again, working, if we're going to be working from the top down, I want to have as many tweaks at my disposal up here at the top as possible. So this is what I grabbed for this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to mess with the high and low pass filter. The high pass filter is going to cut off the lowest frequencies, and the low pass filter is going to cut off the highest frequencies. It's kind of sounds backwards, but if you think about, high pass, that means that it's going to pass everything higher than the threshold that we set. So if we set the high pass at 47 hertz, it's going to pass everything above 47 hertz and ignore everything below 47 hertz. Same with the low pass filter. If we set that to like 12K or 8.2K, something like that, that is going to allow everything lower than that threshold to pass. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the high pass filter. Generally, unless you're doing like, you know, EDM or something like that, there's really nothing under 50 hertz that's useful to you. So we're generally always going to set a high pass filter to this 47 hertz setting. Um, just to start off with, we might end up going higher than that, but typically not. 47 or 82 is what you're going to use for most songs on the master bus. That does not necessarily apply to individual tracks. Individual tracks like guitars, you know, they have even less information that's useful in the lower frequencies. So we're going to pass that even higher on those types of instruments. So anyway, without any further ado, let's go ahead and figure out where exactly we're going to set the high pass for this song.
Insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware.
All right, let's go ahead and start turning it
of who's to blame.
To 47.
The Saboteur rides again.
Set it to 82.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games.
Still sounds pretty good. But listen what happens if we go higher to 150 or 270.
With a man who bears a name, the Saboteur.
See, all our beautiful bass goes away.
The Saboteur.
So I think 82 or 47 is going to work best for this. Let's try it again. 82, 47.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat.
47. 47 hertz sounds good. I'm moving my microphone around. Yeah, so 47 hertz sounds good. And the reason that we're doing this is that is going to eliminate a lot of the low-end rumble that, you know, kind of like those frequencies that you feel in your chest. Again, you know, if you're mixing, you know, EDM, techno, hip-hop, rap, anything like that, I mean, one of the main features of that is that deep, deep sub bass. You know, when a car goes by and it's really, really bumping, and you know, you can, you know, sitting in your house, you can feel it in your chest when that car goes by. You know, they're not high passing those lower frequencies. They're emphasizing them actually. Which is totally cool. I love bass. I love it when you can feel the thump in your chest. When you go to a live show and the bass is just really on fire and in your face. I love that physical assault of those low frequencies. But for this type of music, that's not what it's about. I don't think it works in this context. I think a lot of people would probably high pass it at 82. That still sounds pretty good. But I like, you know, when you are listening on a system that has got like a good sub or something like that, I like it when you get just a little bit more of that rumble. You know, if I had it down on like 27 or I turned it off, there would be too much of it, you know. And if you've got a good sound system and you've got your sub cranked all the way up, you're going to lose a lot of the fidelity in the higher frequencies because they're going to kind of be just overtaken by the big thump and roar of the mud. So 47 is where we're going to leave this. Now, we're also going to chop off a good portion of the high end of the frequency range too. I consider myself to be kind of lo-fi, and one of the hallmarks of lo-fi is the warmth, the analog warmth. And you can accentuate that and make it, a little bit warmer still by chopping off some of the higher frequencies. So I generally will chop it at 12K or 8.2K. 8.2K seems to be my go-to these days, since it's not the high and the low pass filters on this particular plugin. The cliff that the sound falls off of past those frequencies is not super steep. So, even though you set this to 8.2K, it's like that's just it's basically starting a gentle slope of, okay, this is the frequency where we're going to start chopping that information out, but it's actually a pretty shallow curve. So I think 8.2 sounds really good. You lose just a little bit of the sparkle. You don't lose as much as you might think. Like if I use like the native low pass filter that came with this, there's no way I'd chop it at 8.2, because it would just be it would just get nasally. But at 8.2 on this particular plugin, it's just nasally enough, and it's got a little bit of that sort of lo-fi loss of fidelity. So anyway, let me shut up and let's do it so you can actually see what it does.
Maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur.
See, you can really hear it at 8.2 that you've lost some of those high frequencies.
Saboteur.
Then we can go down even lower and really lose some information. But 12 is just a little bright for me. 8.2 seems to work good for most situations. So let's A/B those a little bit and see what it sounds like.
Job complete. A lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. But it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying because I don't want to.
Okay, I'm leaning towards 12, but let's set it back at 8.2 and let's boost some of the high mids, and just see what it does. This is definitely where you're experimenting, turning knobs and dials and stuff like that, and just seeing what works.
A Saboteur, and maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. Saboteur. It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, Saboteur.
Remember to balance your output after EQing.
But baby, with me all the while. There's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm real.
Okay. I mean, do you hear that? We're really starting to get there. Now that we've added on all of these analog emulations. I mean, you can, when I turn this off, you can really, it's really starting to get extremely obvious that we are working towards an extremely warm vintage tone. So I'll turn it off and then turn it back on. It's off.
After all these silly games, yeah, baby, I'm trapped inside with a man.
Yeah, hear that? It's off again.
Saboteur.
On.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps.
I'm gonna boost the low frequencies a little bit, maybe 100 hertz.
Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Yeah. Yeah.
But baby, with me all the while. There's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Okay, so just for fun, let's do this. I'm gonna select and disable all the plugins so we can really hear what we've done. Oh, no, I need that one. That's my voice. And I mean all of them. We're going to turn them all off. Okay, so I've disabled all of them. Let me close all of these. So many plugins. So many plugins. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start playing it with none of the plugins on. Am I still streaming?
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur.
Okay, and we'll jump ahead to the bridge.
But maybe with me all the while, this truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Okay. Now let's turn them all back on. It is definitely going to be a little bit louder, but there's definitely more than just volume at play here. So here we go.
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur.
Skip ahead to the bridge.
But maybe with me all the while, this truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
And then turning them off and just listen to the difference. I'm gonna do that in the middle of the chorus here.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur. It's a job well done.
So it's not a massive volume
A job complete.
difference, but
A lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Well, now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur. all the while. It's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur. Well, maybe I'm broken.
All right, that's where we're going to leave it for tonight. We're like 95% of the way there. Until I decide to scrap everything that we've done tonight and start over from scratch, because that's how Nick do. Anyway, hope you enjoyed part 2 of my demonstration of mixing Saboteur. I don't know what else to say. This was fun. This is my first successful live stream of mixing session for my album. So anyway, take care, and I guess we'll see you next time. I'm going to stop streaming in 5, 4, 3, 2,